Wow, what a way to start a video, but laughing. So, sorry guys, I did not dress up for this video. Once again, thank you for joining me. If you're new to the channel, I'm Wendy. This is my husband Dave. Thank you for joining us as we share, as always, the idea that everything's connected, the idea of unity consciousness, that everything in creation sings its own song, speaks its own language, but yet everything is a part of the same source energy, and yet all of us in all creation are part of all that is, and all that is everything that's ever been created and every will and be created. So we love talking about spiritual consciousness, oracle, how messages come through oracles. Me, myself, I also, if you've been with me for a little while, you know how much I love sharing the idea of messages through repeating numbers. That's what kind of like the gist of today, of this message. So I wanted to do this yesterday, but actually it was kind of emotional, and that's sort of part of the story of this idea. But so it kind of started when I was young, and the whole 11:11 thing, quite briefly. And my mom always said, she always would say, "Man, you are so weird," because I would bring things up like that when I was young about 11:11. And then, as we leave each other, as we leave ourselves breadcrumbs, we throughout our lives, there are messages of information that come to us through repeating numbers. And so it just so happened that in like the dark night of my soul and in my own personal confusion in my life, for a variety of reasons, I was like looking for, same thing as everybody else. What's my purpose? What does all this mean? What does 11:11 mean? Why do I keep seeing it? And that's sort of how, and it was funny because then everybody who knew me throughout my whole life, even I would see them years and years later, and they would say to me, every time I see 11:11, I think of you. And this is, it could be literally like decades later. So I think even then, it was sort of like, just by me bringing it to people's awareness and attention, it was like it was already, and I'm getting goosebumps now. It was like it was already an awakening code that I was supposed to start like sharing with people, just so that they would like start paying attention. And I think that repeating numbers for all of us have been, there's Puppy. She's taking her nap, so she's good. She loves the energy, so she likes being down here with us. And so a lot of the videos that I've been sharing throughout the years have a lot to do with the repeating numbers and 11:11, and why is it important to us? Why do we see? And if you watch my channel and my community page, I'm like every day seeing on the clock and on my phone, it just happens, and I see these repeating numbers, and I take a screenshot and I post it, because it's like awareness for people, an awakening code. And then it just so happened that during 11/11, 2011, it was like I had this massive spiritual awakening. And from that moment on, it was like I couldn't get enough information. And I learned about light workers, and I learned about what does that mean, and how is 11:11 even, connected to all of that. And that was a big epiphany for me. And that idea of epiphany came to be another breadcrumb for me. And then we learned through, let's just kind of jump to about 2012, I guess 2011 is when I found Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka, and a lot of these other puzzle pieces started coming into place too. And I'm just remembering now that in our time on Earth, his birthday is celebrated also on November 11th. And we also have other things in our own civil society in which November 11th is also significant for other reasons. So he also explained that when we are having epiphanies, having an epiphany is a form of abundance. It's information that we receive from our guides. It's a form of abundance. Information we receive from each other is forms of abundance. It leads us to a new vibrational understanding. And we learn that synchronicities are also a form of abundance. So when we're seeing these repeating numbers, it's a form of synchronicity. It's a numeric message. I think that we've always sort of understood that repeating numbers are signs about something, and yet each of them means something different to each and every one of us at different times, because we're new moment by moment by moment. My mom used to call me weird too, and a lot of this is about my mom, which is part of the Epiphany. I forgot where I was going to go with that. Oh, it was like I would know what would happen, or see things that would happen, like in the future. And yet I understand now what I was, sorry, got fuzz in my mouth. We're really experiencing past, present, and future when we're having deja vu, when we're having those experiences, when we're clairvoyant, or we see the future, or what we're literally seeing is other versions of parallel realities, of all potentialities. There is no one well, look at that 11. There is no one reality. So that's another awakening that for all of us that we're beginning to understand that. Dave and I got married on November 11th. Because also that was significant to us in our own, personal travels and awakening and so forth. So, and all of that also comes into play with, the sacred circuitry, the sacred circuits brought to us through Bashar. Also, each one is numbered, and each one is a symbol that represents a word which has a number attached to it. And so I felt this push to share those. And I've been there's a lot of videos. So, if you're new to the channel, I've been sharing this idea for many years now. So it's not new information. It's just this moment was really kind of new for me. And the reason I wanted to share it with you guys without being too lengthy about it was because when you receive these messages or numbers or however, it's to help us all become more and more aware that we're all clairvoyant, we're all clairsentient, we all have the ability and the capabilities to reach in all these places and these dimensions, and also speak to those who have transitioned. And that's a big part of what this message was about, was me receiving messages like somehow from my mom, who has transitioned 2 years ago. And I know that a lot of what we've been learning too about the track splitting and moving into the 5D, and things are going to fall away, and people are going to transition out of our lives, or we're going to transition out of theirs, one way or the other, how we're looking from whatever perspective we're looking at it, as to moving in the direction that we like, of that idea of more cosmic awareness and knowing ourselves more on a consciousness level, and all of the other things that are going to fall away. And all of those beings who decided not to continue this particular train are going to be transitioning out of our lives. And I think we're all beginning to experience that. And yet part of the reason, I think, is so that we begin to understand, like Bashar has explained many times, they don't see it as a loss because they continue to converse with them. They understand they're just in a different vibration. They're able to continue to see them because that's how they perceive reality. And we as awakening beings are beginning more and more to understand that is our nature. That's the rule, not the exception. So maybe it's the light languages that are activating more of this awareness in us. Maybe it's the awareness of the repeating numbers.
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes. Is there anything, I had just a couple other things I wanted to share too, but was there anything that you wanted to, kind of chime in about it? And I don't know if you...
Well, the sacred circuitry, for anyone who doesn't know, are geometric symbols that help create better connections to your higher spirituality and your brain consciousness. And they a lot of them look sort of like circuit boards. And by focusing on them, it literally opens up new neural pathways within your brain on the physical idea that gives you more awareness of consciousness, helps improve your vibration, does all kinds of things. What I wanted to mention specifically was on Wendy's website.
Sorry about that.
You can go to her website, www.languagesoflights.com.
In the description.
Always in the description. On the home page is always the sacred circuit for today's numerology equivalent. So the daily sacred circuit you can view and look at anytime you want by going to Wendy's website. And there's a relationship between the numeric values and the date and the energy of the day. And it might be different reasons for everyone individually as to why it might be helpful for you to look at it, or what it might be doing for you. And just because you've seen them before doesn't mean looking at them on
all
that day
the time
as being part of your spiritual practice. And I don't really want to say spiritual because it should just be daily practice. Part of what we're doing here is integrating the idea of spirituality with your everyday daily life
and understanding our multidimensionality. And I'm glad you said it that way, the neural pathways, because that's exactly what happened to me. Yet I went into it with the intention of using them in that way, because that's how they were intended. And when I did use them in the way instructed, so my neural pathways went, crazy. So yeah, for sure. And so I'm glad that you mentioned that. And thanks to Dave, he's a programmer, so that is, he put that together. So every day when you go on the website, you see the date added up, and that for the symbol for that day, and it has been reduced down to the number for that symbol for that day. So that in of itself was a huge awakening experience for me, and using it as a tool and a permission slip to be able to open up my consciousness. So one of the things that he also talked about was Epsilon, Epiphany, and Eclipse. So the reason I brought that up is because they are spherical. They are spheres that maintain the balance of the vibration of the planet Sasani, Bashar's planet.
Essentially moons that orbit the planet.
Yes, exactly.
That were put there.
And we named them. So when one of his events, he said, and you humans named them, which I'm still looking for a little more guidance on that, but if everything's now, that whole thing, but Epsilon, Epiphany, and Eclipse. Now, I have a statue, a unicorn statue that I named Eclipse. And for some reason today, the word, that name and the word Epiphany really stood out to me, because it was like this little epiphany that I had when I realized some of the numbers. And so basically what happened to me yesterday, let me just back up just a second. And those three spheres are also beaming that energy down to Earth. And in it contains the energy of the guides of the Sirius star system, because there is a trinity connection between Earth, Essassani, and Sirius, the Sirius star system. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And during the moonlight, they are beaming that energy off of our moonlight, which we have been invited to experience in the moonlight, and intentionally understand that we're receiving that information, that guidance, the light codes, the whatever messages you need, we need in that moment, at that time, epiphanies. And I also wanted to remind us all that we are not the conceivers of our thoughts. We believe we are. The physical mind is not capable of conceiving anything. It is not capable, nor is it its job to conceive of a thought. The thoughts, epiphanies, if you will, come from the higher mind. Our physical mind, we are only receivers and perceivers.
Well, we're only imagining our physical reality.
Exactly.
So the imagination of the physical reality is not producing the thoughts and ideas. We're just able to receive and perceive.
And we perceive based upon our beliefs.
And we've set up a system where we have belief systems designed to reinforce the idea of having a physical reality experience. So those belief systems reinforce how you experience the physical reality.
Absolutely. I'm smiling because, yes, it makes perfect sense. And I'm smiling because all of a sudden, as Dave's talking, I can hear the baby birds, which I'll have to show you guys a video another time. But there's a bird's nest in my catnip plant on the porch here, and she's always feeding the baby birds, and it sounds so cute. So anyway, yeah, that's the vibration. If you can hear him in the background, and of course our puppy thinks she's being left out, so don't worry, she's really okay, you guys. If you can hear her, I don't know. Should we go tend to her for a second? She just wants to be with us. She
voluntarily went and laid down.
Exactly.
Like 5 minutes before.
Yes, exactly. She knew she was going to go take a nap, and she wanted to. So what I wanted to share with you guys, just as quickly as I can here.
Oh, I'll go tell her everything.
Yeah, maybe we better tell her everything, because she's a little distracting, so hang on just a second. I just had a thought, too, while we were taking care of Puppy. Yeah, we had a delivery, so she had to let us know that there was a delivery on the park, so all is well. I was also reminded, too, just now by my guides, I guess, since I'm just a receiver. We also form belief systems around numbers and repeating numbers and birthdays and anniversaries of things. And our whole society is literally, I was going to say wrapped around numbers, but I see the sacred, I like see the sacred geometry and the numbers and like the light language symbols and that float around in my head and in my dreams and on my artwork and papers, which actually I'm actually using my own composition book, which is actually filled with light language information, and you can find a lot of my light code stuff on my website, all for purchase and also through Amazon. And I like to make notes in these because they really amplify, the energy, the light codes do. So yesterday, and this belief system about numbers is going to come into play here in just a moment. So yesterday, and I'm recording this today on June 12th, 2024. Yesterday was June 11th, 2024, and the date equaled 16. So, for example, in the sacred circuitry on my website, then the 16 would be added together and reduced to 7, and then the sacred circuit for that day would be 7. So I had been thinking a lot about my mom. My mom had transitioned on June 17th, 2022, and she was born on May 10th, 1944. So these are just numbers that they mean something to me. But I wanted to share this to make maybe you have messages coming from your loved ones through these numbers and anniversaries and birthdays, and they're sending messages to you, and we want to be more aware that we're always in contact with our loved ones and anybody in the non-physical, because we're non-physical already, always. So we're changing how we perceive transitioning, how we perceive death, how we perceive that idea of consciousness and what all that means. And by focusing on this kind of stuff, it allows us to change those brain synapses, that we become more aware that we're consciousness, we're spirits all the time, always connected to everything, because we can never not be. So by sharing this helps this. So yesterday I realized that, and yesterday's date equaled 16. So the number 6 comes into play here, in that it's also June, the 6th month. And it was exactly 6 days before the transition of my mom's, the anniversary of her transition. And so it was like 6 days prior to that. And it just sort of, all of a sudden, it was like I had this this epiphany about 6s. And then I realized that her date of birth equals 6. Her birth path number, if you're not familiar with birth paths, you can kind of look this up too, but when you add up all the numbers of your birth date and you reduce it down to, the lowest common denominator, or unless, like me, I'm a 29, and if you add that together, that's an 11. So my birth path number is 11. So I carry that vibration throughout my whole life. And so that's kind of the idea of birth path numbers. And then I realized my mom's birth path number is 6. So I haven't looked that up yet, but if that, rings a bell with anybody, so it's kind of fun to look up your birth path number and see, what we have designed for ourselves as kind of traits in that idea, and see what resonates. So then I realized that today's date equals 17, and so I'm looking at the number 17. I'm like, 7 minus 1, that's another 6. So I'm thinking like that, and then I realized that when I'm the date of her transition, 6/17/2022, in my mind, all of a sudden I see 6, and then the number 17. I'm looking at it going, 7 minus 1 is 6. 2022 is 6. I'm like, oh wow, 666, and there it is. Did anybody get a weird, What's the belief system we have behind that number? It's ridiculous, because the reason why we have been led to believe that number means something other than it does is belief systems and what we've been told and what we've been taught. And so the first thing I look up is angel numbers 666, because I realized in that moment this was an angelic message for me, and to acknowledgement from my mom that she's right here with me. And so it was very interesting. So one of my favorite, which I'll put the link for you guys too, is one of my favorite sites, and it always has been, and I've shared this many times, is Joanne Scribe's sacred repeating number, sacred numbers. And so right away I look up on the internet different meanings of that, interpretations of that number 666. And so then Joanne Scribe's angel numbers. And so it was very interesting how I started with how I started to see it with the number 6, and then the 66, and then the 666, and then being 2024, it was like I was seeing a string of 4 6s. So that's kind of where I went through, was the what each of those means. And it was so synchronistic for me, without getting into reading them all, because now it's getting a little long on time here, but So I just wanted to kind of share. These are the things I like getting passionate about sharing, because they really are paths. They're these synchronicities and epiphanies that we have are opening up new pathways for us to understand just more of ourselves. And the flowers, I was even thinking about the flowers and some of my mom's favorite flowers. And so yesterday I had bought this deck with the language of flowers, which I showed only a couple of only I think one video with. But so yesterday, the first card on top is number 28, memory. The memory of my mom, like, right, okay. And then 28's 10, her birthday is number 10. So of course this is just a message for me. And I also happen to be growing poppies all around the house and on the front porch. Field poppy. So, which wasn't necessarily one of her favorite flowers or anything, but it was the number 10 that stuck out to me. Then today, just a few minutes ago, I pull just a random card, number 22. So she transitioned in 2022. Honor. Another one, Chinese poppy. I'm like, peony. Excuse me, let me back up a second. Chinese peony. Well, that was one of my mom's favorite plants. Flowers was peonies. She always used to say that. I love peonies. She loved lily of the valley, because she was also born in May. And but peony, like, if you asked her what's your favorite flower, that like almost immediately was like the first thing that came out. So that was really funny too. So this is what I'm saying about, even if it's subtle, that's the subtleness is how we discover the magic, and each of these things is only going to mean something to you, us personally, but it's to open our eyes they're open all of our clairs, and they're helping us do that. They're helping us do that by transitioning also to share and show us you're always connected. And so
also picking a date of transitioning,
which we
adds
do
to the breadcrumbs.
Exactly. And our birthday, we choose our birthday.
Going through this whole exercise is really just to illustrate how we could follow the breadcrumbs and be excited about all of these little tiny things, because everything is a message, and everything is a message provided by you, higher self, to provide you more information, to give you the epiphanies. And this is one beautiful example of what you can experience yourself by just listening to your inspiration of the interesting things. And Wendy has always been attracted to repeating numbers and numbers, combinations of numbers and so forth.
And yeah, exactly.
But for you, it could be seeing things green. If you
right.
see a lot of green things.
And with my mom, it was purple. Everything was purple. My mom and my grandma's name is Violet, and we all grew violets. My great grandma grew violets. My mom grew violets, and so that's part of it.
Follow those threads, and make your story up from all those little breadcrumbs that you're creating for yourself. Because there is nothing appears in your reality that isn't purposeful and a direct message to you. So everything. We might not realize the extent of how everything is a message, but everything is a message. The universe doesn't create erroneous things. It's all part of the path. You are creating your reality. You're not creating for yourself anything that isn't relevant.
Exactly.
So sometimes you might be in a vibration where you're creating something that is not preferred, even if it's just seeing something, that has nothing to do with you and doesn't really affect you, but you're seeing something that is not preferred. Well, that's just a reminder to say, this is your vibration. It's up to you.
Do you like it? Do you not? It? As Bashar always says, circumstances don't matter. Only state of being matters. What state of being do you prefer?
And as we're moving collectively into higher vibration, the things that don't belong in those vibrations are always fighting to get away. So if you're not in a compatible vibration, things are going to be coming up to convince you to choose wisely. And
Absolutely.
the longer that you stay in a vibration that just isn't compatible with the vibration of our reality, as we're moving toward higher and higher collective vibration, more and more things are going to be reminding you that you probably don't want to be in the lower vibration. And it's because that's what we're here for, to be in a higher vibration. Because every vibration is equal in value, in providing experience that is valuable to you and others and collectively. So the universe doesn't care what vibration you're in. But if you want to be in a higher vibration, and we've all collectively agreed to raise the vibration of the planet, reality, Earth, things that aren't going to be compatible with that are trying to get away, and it's only ourselves holding them back, not wanting to let them go. And as soon as you let those things go, release the beliefs that aren't compatible, the easier things get.
And I'm glad that you said that, because I wanted to just mention too that I did not have a rosy relationship with my mom. And what Dave was just saying was reminding me that what I'm feeling is complete unconditional love, because she's no longer in the judgmental vibration. She's no longer in that vibration. So now I can experience her from a place of true love. I grew up in an alcoholic home, moved tons of times. She was the alcoholic. We had a very tumultuous relationship. I was brought into the 12-step program at a very young age. And really, and to be completely honest, up until the day she transitioned, she really was not happy with, did not agree with my choices in life, the decisions that I had recently made, major life choices. She really wanted nothing to do with me. She didn't want to talk to me. She was very, wanted everything to be the way that it used to be. Didn't want, the fact that
which was not a particularly good thing either.
So really, honestly, I didn't really even have her, in my corner, so to say, for only a very short time in our lives were she and I in a harmonious place. But most of the time it wasn't. So I wanted to mention that too, because I don't have that judgment anymore. I mean, I don't have any. I don't feel hate or remorse or regret or anger or none of it. I just don't.
So keep in mind, she has agreed to your request of having a physical relationship. That was what it was.
Exactly. And I did too.
And transitioning when she did was also her way of, number one, saying there's nothing more in the physical that I could do to help. I could help you more in the non-physical.
Yes.
And maybe she was just sick of playing that role and wanted to take on a more loving role, which she couldn't do in the physical because she agreed not to.
It's so true.
For whatever reason that you likely won't understand until later.
Exactly. And Dave didn't even know my mom. He's never met her. He had never met her.
Well, I met her. I did. I met her online.
Oh, well, yeah.
One or two times.
That's true.
We said hello.
Yeah. So, anyway, I just wanted to mention that too, because I think that I guess I just wanted people to realize too that it wasn't just because it was maybe because it was not the, you know, the all of the all loving beautiful rainbow life, but then again, as we all say, would we want to change anything ever? Because it made us who we are. It made me who I am, if that's how we want to look at it linearly as a story. And I wanted to, kind of in conclusion, she always called me her sunshine. I was always her sunshine. And even though I was the psychedelic sheep of the family, she admired that about me in her own way. And I think a lot of the anger and resentment was, usually it's about a person who looks at another person who is angry because they want to be that way and they don't know how. They just don't know how. They want to be themselves. They want to be true to themselves. They want to, I was myself. I dressed the way I wanted. I still do. We joked about that. I had jury duty on Monday. I dressed in my, the way I just dress. I didn't hide who I was anymore. And so, but part of that is the gift from her, right? And so it was funny because I grabbed this other deck that I had just gotten, the Soul Flower deck, and was looking through there to see what jumped out at me, and sunflower. It was like, you are my sunshine, the sunflower. You were my sunflower. And Dave and I love the idea of that. When we learn that there's 1,000 flowers within every sunflower. So there's something about the sunflower and how much we all love it. And
pretty soon we'll be able to show you.
I'll be able to show you mine.
Sunflower.
And so the sunflower meaning is confidence. Confident sunflower stands tall and radiant, sharing like the sun, shining like the sun. Sorry, it's getting dim. It's getting dark here, guys. When you are suffering from low self-confidence or self-doubt, which I had been, I will just add, sunflower humbly reminds you of your true magnificence, instilling acceptance and understanding and allowing loving compassion to flow from your heart. That was her message to me.
And the path of least resistance of getting that message was all the things that we just talked about and Wendy discussed about the repeating numbers and going through all the exercises of thinking about the dates, and that led us to the message that was the easiest way for her to receive, and there's not really a lot of woo-woo going on.
No.
Your loved ones are always connected to us. We could always communicate in whatever way we feel is appropriate. You could talk to spirit, in your head, vocally or whatever. But sometimes the path of least resistance is taking a fun trip with looking up numbers and then finding the card that you just happened to get in a deck recently with a perfect message. So as Bashar has said, the psychic trick of guessing how much money is in the other person's pocket doesn't really work, because the path of least resistance to receiving that information is looking in their pocket.
So, this video is much longer than I intended, so thank you guys. If you made it through any parts of this or all of it, we're always grateful for every now moment that you share with all of us, and all your love, your energy, your comments. My heart is always in love with all of you at all times. It's like I carry all the hearts within my heart, and I just love sharing all of this. So thank you once again. And if there's anything that any way that I or Dave or together can be of service to you in any way. Of course, my information is always in the descriptions, languagesoflights.com. Stop by, say hi, and of course, if you're physically ever in our area here in Central Alabama, don't hesitate to holler. Let us know you're coming, that you want to visit, and just hang out. We're very open, non-judgmental, very accepting, always welcoming, and we welcome our hearts and our home to all of you.
And I'll leave you all something to ponder.
Yes, please.
Everything is made of love. Everything is love. And this is not just a spiritual idea of we want all, everything to be lovey. Everything is made from love. So anything that you're looking at that is not taking the form of love, it is only your own beliefs transforming them into something that it's not. Everything is made from love, is love, represents love. So the fun we have in our ascension, evolution, is finding ways to look at all the things that don't appear to be coming from a loving place, finding ways to look at them from love for what they truly are. Thanks for playing.
Thanks, you guys. That was awesome. Thank you. We love you. Until next time.